Councilmember Fun,
Here.
Vice Mayor Pappen,
Here.
Mayor Oliva.
Here.
All members of the City Council are present.
Okay, we'd like to start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Everybody please stand. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So tonight, we are going to start with two ceremonial presentations. Our first presentation is for a proclamation proclaiming January 18th, 2022 as a National Day of Racial Healing. And we have a member from Millbrae ARC that will accept the proclamation. Do we have them present?
Yes, Oded here of Millbrae ARC.
Thank you, Oded, very much. I'm actually going to ask my Vice Mayor, Councilmember Pappen, to read the proclamation for us tonight.
Great. Thank you, Madam Mayor. We'll have to correct a typo or two in both of these. Sorry. Okay. The City of Millbrae proclamation. Whereas the National Day of Racial Healing was established in 2017 to serve as an opportunity to bring all members of a community together to inspire collective action towards a more equitable world. And whereas there is a deep racial divide in our country with historical and systematic roots, a divide that alienates neighbors and tears apart communities, we must work together to heal these wounds and to build a just and fair society for all, regardless of one's racial, ethnic, or religious identity. And whereas the City of Millbrae seeks to build a community of compassion and understanding, which is essential to create the inclusive and caring environment that we strive to create. And whereas all individuals deserve the right to be afforded every opportunity to succeed and thrive in the cities, states, and countries they reside in. And whereas every single person has the capability to make a change within him or herself that can have a profound effect on society, and healing and racial healing is vital. I'm going back and forth. Sorry, is vital and crucial, is a vital and crucial commitment to the education, social, mental, and overall well-being of all citizens in the United States. And whereas Millbrae's participation in the National Day of Healing signifies, as a community, we want to create space to celebrate distinct differences that make Millbrae vibrant. It also means that we are aware that there are still deep racial divides in America that must be overcome and healed. And some of these exist in Millbrae. As residents, still experience bias and prejudice. And the City of Millbrae, in conjunction with the other cities and towns throughout the United States, acknowledges January 18th, 2022 as the National Day of Racial Healing, and urges all citizens to promote racial healing and transformation in the ways that are best suited for them individually, as a means of working together to ensure the best quality of life for every man, woman, and child. Now, therefore, we, the members of the Millbrae City Council, do hereby proclaim January 18th, 2022 as National Day of Racial Healing.
Thank you so much, Gina. We're really proud of the City of Millbrae for making the step in adopting the proclamation. And we feel this is a step in the right direction. But of course, there are still a long way to go to reach real racial healing that will be comprehensive and beneficial for everyone. But we're really privileged to be working with the City of Millbrae. So with honor, I accept this proclamation on behalf of Millbrae ARC.
Dad, we're very happy to have this group of in our community. Thank you for all your hard work and everything you do. Really appreciate it.
So much.
Any other council comments? Okay, then I'm going to move on to the next proclamation, which is proclaiming January 2022 as Human Trafficking Prevention Month. And I think we have Pamela Estes from the San Mateo County Human Trafficking Program Coordinator accepting this proclamation. Is she?
Yes,
with us,
I'm here.
Pamela? Hi, Pamela. How are you?
Good evening. I'm fine. Thank you.
So congratulations. And Vice Mayor Pappen is going to also present this proclamation to you.
Okay, the City of Millbrae proclamation. Whereas the United States Senate designated January 11th as National Human Trafficking Awareness Day in 2007, and beginning in 2010 by presidential proclamation, each January has been designated National Slavery and Human Trafficking Prevention Month. And whereas human trafficking is an abhorrent abuse of power and human rights violation and a violation of both federal and California law, and human trafficking tears apart families and communities, fuels organized crime, undermines public health, and imposes large economic costs. And whereas the crime of human trafficking is present in every country and every part of the United States, the FBI has identified the San Francisco Bay Area as an area of high prevalence of human trafficking. And whereas human trafficking disproportionately impacts the most vulnerable of communities, and combating this crime is vital in the advancement of equality and justice, and forced labor, involuntary domestic servitude, and commercial sexual exploitation of adults and youth, and has been found to exist within local communities. And whereas we must continue to raise public awareness about human trafficking and the signs of it, communicating more information on the nuances of this crime and dispelling false information that only further alienates victims. And whereas the City of Millbrae supports the efforts to identify, address human trafficking in collaboration with other governmental and non-governmental organizations within San Mateo County, now, therefore, we, the members of the Millbrae City Council, do hereby proclaim January 2022 as Human Trafficking Prevention Month, encourages its citizens to support the County of San Mateo's efforts in the fight against human trafficking by reporting suspicious activity, organize and participate in awareness training, and get involved in local events. We have several typos. My apologies, which we will fix throughout this before we get it to you, Pamela. And just as a personal comment, Madam Mayor, this is literally appalling, and it does exist within our communities. So we must be aware of this and try in every way possible to prevent this from further exploiting individuals throughout our county, our cities, and this country. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I couldn't agree with you more. And Pamela, I do not envy your job, but I sure look at it as a very heroic action. And I have huge kudos to you. It's very disturbing to think that the San Francisco Bay Area is such an alarming location for something of human trafficking. But as we all know, and unfortunately, many of us have witnessed this going on in our own city, we thank you for making awareness. And I thank the public, and I encourage, just like the proclamation says, to please support the county's efforts to stop this and fight against it. Pamela, thank you very much for your work.
Thank you so much. Thanks for putting this on your agenda tonight and bringing the awareness about the crime of human trafficking within our county to the people's attention. I graciously accept it and wanted just to let you guys know that it can happen anywhere. It can happen to women, girls, boys, men, foreign nationals, U.S. citizens. We, as the Human Trafficking Program, have done an assessment, which is voluntarily responded to by local agencies every year so that we can get a grasp on the scope and prevalence of human trafficking in our county. In 2021, in January, we did our assessment for the year 2020. We had 20 organizations respond back. And between those 20 organizations, there was a range of potentially 282 to 306 victims who were identified within our county. That boils down to about 23 victims a month. So these were responses included children, included adults, labor trafficking victims, sex trafficking victims. And there's no way to know how many others are out there unless they've been, they seek help and have been identified. Their stories have been heard by someone, because many of them have no understanding that what's happening to them is a crime, and the crime is called human trafficking. So oftentimes they don't, there's a lot of shame and guilt around this, so they don't disclose it. And it's only within a trusted relationship that many times they reveal their story, and someone who's educated and aware identifies it as human trafficking. So it's really critical for people in the service industry, those who are helping others, be aware of this crime. So the Human Trafficking Program was created in 2015. It's a program within the San Mateo County Sheriff's Office in cooperation with the San Mateo County Police Chiefs and Sheriff's Association. And part of our responsibility is to help to encourage collaboration among county agencies and non-governmental organizations, and to enhance the delivery of services to victims, help train law enforcement. We also provide education and training to the community and help raise awareness about this crime, such as bringing this proclamation to you tonight, which you so graciously have put on your agenda. We do host a monthly meeting, and it's on the second Tuesday of every month. We had our meeting today, had about 40 people in attendance virtually, and it's anyone's invited to attend if you want to learn more about what's going on in the county. It's called the Human Trafficking Initiative. I can be contacted with questions, with training requests, etc. And you can get more involved in the anti-trafficking movement or get more information by going to our website. We have a website, and it's www.stophumantraffickingsmc.org. That's stophumantraffickingsmc.org. So I just welcome anybody who wants to learn more to reach out, and be happy to talk to them. So thank you so much, Mayor Oliva and Vice Mayor Pappen and the council members, for passing this proclamation tonight. I graciously accept it.
And Pamela, we're asked to be reported suspicious activity. Where would we report? Where would anybody report that?
So suspicious activity can be reported to the National Human Trafficking Hotline. If anybody wants to just Google National Human Trafficking Hotline, it's 1-888-788. I'm sorry, I'm butchering the number now. And I apologize for that. It was, I can get it for you quickly. But it's also a wonderful number to have in your contacts, because it doesn't matter where you are, that you can call that number. And it also has a text number that's be free. You can just text the numbers that correspond with the words be free and communicate with them. And many times, because our younger population is texting, the National Human Trafficking Hotline is getting many more communications via text, and especially from victims, because many times they're not in a position to actually have a conversation by voice. So they can use the be free words to text and get information about services in their area. If someone's in danger, if you know someone's in danger, I would recommend you just immediately dial 911 to get law enforcement help. But the National Human Trafficking Hotline is a great number to call if you're just suspicious about circumstances, don't really have any hard evidence, or you don't know the jurisdiction that you're in, to know who to appropriately call, because we're connected to them and they will filter things down to the Human Trafficking Program, and we'll then get it to the appropriate law enforcement agency.
I think there was a time in Millbrae where the hotels had posted in the bathrooms so that any of the victims would be able to reach out as well. And that would be helpful to make sure that that is current.
Yeah, and I'll speak to that briefly. We had a volunteer corps go and start in-person checks with hotels before COVID, and then we finished up via phone. And we had distributed the posters to every single hotel, motel, and bed and breakfast in the county prior to that. And we discovered that probably only about 50% of the hotels and motels are actually displaying the poster. And those who are displaying the poster often do not want to put it in their front lobby because they feel like it is a message to potential guests that there is human trafficking happening there. And so oftentimes we're finding that they're in maybe a break room, or they put them back in the employee room with other types of posters that you would have out for employees. So we have some work to do there.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, and if I can give you the number, the actual number is 1-888-373-7888. So 1-888-373-7888. That's the National Human Trafficking Hotline.
Thank you. Councilmember
you.
Schneider.
Thank you, Mayor. I think we've said that, but we're not trying to punish the victims, and that would include undocumented too, correct?
Absolutely. The human trafficking laws protect anybody who's undocumented. There are special visa considerations for them. So no, an undocumented status should not prevent you from reaching out for help, because the law just does not want that situation to put you in a more vulnerable position than you may already be in.
Thank you. And your training that you mentioned, I know when the Super Bowl was here, we all received training on what to look at, but you've got that on your website. So people, our residents, if you want to help, the training was really fantastic, and kind of how to spot things and how to be, how to help. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Councilwoman. Vice Mayor Gina Pappen.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And since we have a few typos on this proclamation, can I suggest that we actually put that contact information that was mentioned, since it's a part of the public record, on the proclamation itself, if anybody wants to find that information, the phone number, the website, all of that. I think that would be helpful to anyone in the future. So greatly appreciate all your efforts, and it does take a lot of people keeping their eyes open. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
That's a great idea. Thank you, Pamela.
Thank you.
And now with that, we're going to go to the agenda overview. City Manager.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Again, good evening to you, members of the City Council. Tom Williams, City Manager. So next on the agenda, we have under the item 2, agenda overview and staff briefing, we have attached to the council packet calendar of events and the reports of bill and claims, and those are information items. Item number 3 is approval of the meeting minutes for a special meeting of the City Council held on November 15th, 2021, and a special meeting of the City Council held on November 17th, 2021. Then we move forward with oral reports from city committee and commission chairs. We have 2 items on the agenda this evening. One is the review and adoption of the 2022 Senior Advisory Committee Work Plan and the adoption of the Youth Advisory Committee 2022 Work Plan. Then we move to public communication. This item is for any member of the public to address the City Council on any item that is not on the agenda. Any communication will be limited to 3 minutes. Then on the consent calendar, we have 5 items, starting with item number 5, which is consideration of adoption of a resolution finding that the proclaimed state of emergency continues to impact the city's ability to meet safely in person, and declaring that the City Council and city commissions and committees will continue to meet remotely in order to ensure the health and safety of the public during the pandemic. Item number 6 is to consider approval by motion the quarterly investment schedule for the first quarter of the fiscal year in 2021-2022. That's July, August, and September. Item number 7 is to consider approval of the public display of fireworks, actually firecrackers, for the Lunar New Year Festival That is, will be at the beginning of the parade, scheduled for February 5th, 2022, starting on Broadway. We did this in previous years and just requires a city council approval, and then we'll work with the fire marshal as we did before to ensure safety. Item number 8 is to consider adoption of a resolution approving the amendment of the deferred compensation 457B plan to permit loans. Item number 8 is to authorize by motion the city manager to authorize payments of up to $100,000 to Champions Tennis for after-school and camp programming for the City of Millbrae Recreation Program, and authorize by motion the city manager to extend addendums for an additional 3-year term. Then we move to public hearings. There are no public hearing items on the agenda this evening. We move to existing business. There are no items under existing business. Then under new business, we have 4 items. Item number 10 is to discuss and appoint to the city selection committee the vacant positions, also on regional boards and liaisons to commission and committees. Item number 11 is to accept by motion the annual comprehensive financial report. Item number 12 is to consider approval of the 2021 amended and restated water supply agreement between the city and county of San Francisco, wholesale customers in Alameda County, San Mateo County, and Santa Clara County, and authorize the city manager to execute such an agreement when final executed copies are prepared and distributed by BOSQA. Item number 13 is to then approve the attached resolution approving a minimum purchase transfer from the city of Mountain View to the city of East Palo Alto. Item number 12 must be adopted for the city council to consider item number 13, just for your information. Then we move to council comments. And in the closed session, item number 14, the city manager's annual review, will be continued to a date later this week, either Thursday or Friday. We're still trying to work out city council schedule, so we'll have to renotice once we confirm everyone's schedule. Then we move to adjournment. So Mayor and Council, just real quick, an update. As everyone knows, the end of October and the end of December, the city of Millbrae and the region experienced 2 atmospheric river rain storms. As a result, we did experience some significant flooding in a few areas of the city. And we have been working, one of those areas is Landing Lane. And we've been working closely with the residents of Landing Lane, as well as our public works staff and representatives from San Francisco International Airport that we've identified is the issue that causes a significant amount of the flooding that's occurring in the Landing Lane neighborhood. I just wanted to briefly, mention this, brief the city council and the community. I will, at a future date, have this item on an agenda so we can go into detail. But just for the public's benefit, back in the 1960s, the city and SFO did enter into an agreement that requires San Francisco International Airport, SFO, to maintain the Alameda Canal, which exists to the east of the Landing Lane neighborhood. That Alameda Canal then drains east almost to the 101 freeway. This is all on San Francisco International Airport property. Then once it drains east, then it turns south and it continues in the Alameda Canal to a pump station that's operated by San Francisco International Airport, as well as a city pump station. And it draws that water and pumps it into the Highline Canal, which then eventually flows into the bay. And so what is at issue, and I wanted to share these photos just for your benefit and the public. On the left, this is a photo taken of the Alameda Canal that's supposed to be maintained by SFO. This picture was taken in 2004. And to the right is a picture that was taken on December 27th of 2021. As you can see, these 6 large storm drain pipes are clogged. Actually, we were out there this afternoon with the mayor and members of the neighborhood and our public works department. Literally, we have found that there's a significant amount of silt that, if you can see my arrow, covers about half of these storm drains. So the issue at hand, and as I mentioned, we're working with San Francisco International Airport to come out and maintain the canal, dredge the canal, so the flow of water continues and it does not impede the flow of water, which is the cause of the landing lane flooding. So it's a work in progress. We did have a very good meeting with SFO staff last week, and so more to come. Also, lastly, when it comes to flooding, obviously, I want to mention the tragic and unfortunate events that happened, and that occurred under the Hillcrest undercrossing on December 23rd. The incident is currently under investigation, and I will report back to the City Council and the community once that investigation has concluded. So just a few more items here. It's the San Mateo County Fair Housing Survey is out. So San Mateo County is working on a study to determine which residents have the hardest time finding housing and what solutions would work best to address the county's housing shortage. So can you please help us by taking the survey, and it will ask questions about your housing situation. The survey can be found via the link through the city's home website or visiting www.surveymonkey.com. There's a /R/21elements AFH. This is on our homepage, so please go to the city's homepage. We link to this survey. It's a very important survey that we would encourage the community to fill out and participate. Also, we have a rebate program. We're providing $100 rain barrel rebate program that we do have $100 to rebate for those those funds can be used to purchase select rain capture barrels. These rebates will not only save you money as residents, but can help beautify your landscape, reduce outdoor water use, and prevent pollutants from running off into our local waterways and storm drain. To learn more about the rebates in the program, that's also on the city's website on our homepage. So you can just type in City of Millbrae and we'll take you to the homepage. Lastly, we had our Millbrae home decorating contest. We have 3 winners. We have some photos, I believe, that we can share with the City Council on who those winners are. It was Michael Lester. We have a quick little 30-second video of their home. And then we have next, I believe this is the Perfuma's home. This is Denise Perfuma's home. That is also one of our prize winners. And we have a few pictures, both indoor and outdoor, that was submitted. And I would like to thank the Community Enhancement Advisory Committee. They have put this program together and they review and vote on all of the nominations. And then lastly, we have Eileen Morales, her home that was submitted and selected as one of our winners. So 3 great homes. And again, I'd like to thank the residents for their decorations and also Community Enhancement Advisory Committee. And then lastly, as we continue to monitor COVID, we are going to continue with some of our programs and we'll monitor these programs as things proceed. But we do have Parents Night Out presented by our Millbrae Recreation Department. So if any parents or significant others have plans for Valentine's Day, we will be offering on Friday, February 11th from 5:30 p.m. to 9 p.m. Childcare in our recreation center. So parents and significant others can enjoy a night of dinner together, and the kids can enjoy dinner together. We'll have games, crafts, and a PG movie to be selected. We'll be serving cheese pizza and drinks. Children are welcome from ages 6 to 11 to join the fun, and you can register by January 31st on our website. That's www.bit.ly/MILREC. So www.bit.ly/MIL1LREC. So Mayor, that concludes my staff briefing this evening.
Thank you so much, City Manager Tom Williams. Before we proceed with the agenda, and I know there's a hand up, but can we just take just a quick moment of silence We lost 2 residents on what you described as a horrific accident, and I think that we all need to acknowledge that. I know that our council is thinking of that family, and we'll take a little time here to acknowledge that. Thank you, council. And before we go on to approval of the minutes, I'd like to call on Vice Mayor Peppin.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And real quick, thank you to the residents that participated in the holiday spirit. I just wanted to remind everybody, when you put your Christmas tree out on the curb, to please remove the stand and all the ornaments, or they won't take it. I ran into it. I was walking on Hillcrest today, and complete with stand and a few ornaments were still out on the street. So if you would like your trees picked up, please remove the stand and all the ornaments and help out the South City Scavengers. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I'd like to move on to the approval of the minutes. Has everybody had an opportunity? I know Councilmember Schneider had a small fix in one of the special meetings, but she fixed it, I believe.
Through the mayor, that was November 15th, just the addition of my name.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mayor.
With that change, would you like to make a motion?
I make a motion to approve. Do you want to do them separately or together?
Together, please.
To approve the special city council meetings of November 15th and November 17th, 2021.
Second.
Can we have a vote, please?
Councilmember Schneider,
Aye.
Councilmember Holliber,
Aye.
Councilmember Fung,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Pappen,
Aye.
Mayor Oliva.
Aye.
The city council approves the special meeting minutes of November 15th, 2021 and November 17th, 2021 by a vote 5-0.
Thank you. We'll move on to our oral reports from our city committees and commissions. And we have first the adoption of the 2022 Senior Advisory Committee Work Plan. Do we have a Senior Advisory Committee chair here?
Yes, we do, Mayor. Thank you. I'd like to introduce, I believe, our Recreation Director, Mackenzie Brady, has a few opening comments as well.
Perfect. Let's start with Mackenzie.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the City Council, Mackenzie Brady, Recreation Director, and I am here to introduce Chair Rochelle Mullen and Vice Chair Marlene McBride. And Rochelle, I will be leading the presentation, so just let me know when you would like me to move to the next screen. Eduardo, can you allow me to share my screen, please?
I am ready whenever you are.
Hi, Rochelle.
Hello.
All right, Rochelle, can you see my screen?
I can see it now. Yes, thank you.
All right, I'm going to go ahead and progress here.
All right, Happy New Year, everybody. Our Senior Advisory Committee consists of the following members. Myself, Rochelle Mullen, is chair. Marlene McBride is our vice chair. Doris Morris is also a member. Mary Ellen Pellegrini, Mimi Lee, Mimi Lynn, Patrick Cheng, and Vanita Ghosh, who is our alternate. Our review for 2021, the next slide, please. We created and distributed monthly senior activity calendar, of course, called the Senior Line. We participated in a joint meeting with the Youth Advisory Committee, and we participated in other city events and received information from various senior organizations. We're constantly finding information and listening to the San Mateo County elder community, and they have an organization that we listen to every month. The next slide, please. Our 2022 work plan goals for the coming year are: Task 1, advisory body to the City Council. as an ongoing activity serve as the recommending body for matters is defined in resolution number 16-37. Task 2, HIP housing presentation. We currently invite a HIP housing representative to educate more people on how the HIP home sharing program enables people with special needs, either from income or circumstance, to live independent, self-sufficient lives in decent, safe, low-cost homes. Task number 3, host the Senior Stories series. Senior guests are invited to share their stories about Millbrae and their lives. Task number 4, publish the Senior Line newsletter. We publish a bi-monthly newsletter with informative content from the city of Millbrae and San Mateo County. Due to the increased number of subscribers, our future plans include selling ad spaces to relevant businesses to find printing in color and switch to a magazine type layout. And you can see the Senior Line on the city website by going into departments and then over to the right, seniors, and the newsletter is in that area. Task 5, coordinate ART van projects by San Mateo County Sheriff's Office. We schedule, the Sheriff's Office schedules a once per month pop-up art van activity for seniors. The event will be hosted by Casa Circulo Cultural in cooperation with the San Mateo County Sheriff's Office. My 2 years of high school Spanish didn't do me well there. Task number 6, host mental health concerns presentation. A representative will present, inform, and address mental health concerns for older adults and seniors, and this is through a county organization. And that is what we have planned for the year.
Sounds like a lot of work, Rochelle.
I will try.
So this doesn't say action, but we do need to adopt this. Is that correct, City Manager?
That is correct, Mayor.
So I see there's a council member with their hand up, but I don't have a name on it. Oh, Councilmember Schneider, is that you?
Yes.
Sorry.
That's okay. Thank you, Mayor. To the Senior Commission, thank you for everything that you have done. And I love your work plan. I do want to bring up one concern. As most of you know, I have a 94-year-old at home, and we are entering our 3rd year of, well, for the most part, isolation. And when I've talked to some of the other seniors last year, I'm getting more and more worried. And there was a mayor's survey done last year. I haven't had a chance to send it to Mayor Oliva yet, that the #1 concern of mayors across the country is the isolation our people are feeling. So I don't know, I don't necessarily want to add something to your work plan, but I know the first year we were in shelter in place, the Lions were calling the older members. We had other programs. With my advisor hat to the Leos, I'd be happy to help. If you guys want to do something to reach out to our seniors, especially those that are not part of existing Millbrae circles, I'm here to help, and I hope that you will consider adding that to your busy work plan. I'm really afraid. I've seen my mom deteriorate with only me to talk to for the most part. My sister on the phone, but I'm very worried. So I hope that you guys will consider that. But I'm very happy to make a motion to approve this work plan. And thank you. And to Vice Chair McBride, Marlene, I haven't had the time to keep calling you, but Marlene has always been amazing at calling people on the seniors' birthday list. And to seniors who may be watching, make sure Millbrae knows when your birthday is. You get that little phone call on that. So I love everything you guys are doing. Keep safe.
Thank you, Ann. On task 6, we have the mental health concerns of the older Americans. And as I said, San Mateo County has an organization or conglomeration of people And if you look at our senior line, you will find different places for people to contact the county and so forth for older adults' mental health issues.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, Mayor, I was surprised at the number of seniors that live just around me who don't know about Senior Line. And I don't want to put the city manager on the spot, but we have talked last year about bringing back a hard copy newsletter to the public in general. And maybe that's the opportunity to let our seniors who are housebound know about the Senior Line.
Okay, we have a motion from Councilmember Schneider.
Happen second.
Can we call for the vote, please?
Councilmember Schneider,
Aye.
Councilmember Holliber,
Aye.
Councilmember Fung,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Pappen,
Aye.
Mayor Oliva.
Aye.
The City Council approves the 2022 Senior Advisory Committee Work Plan by a vote of 5-0.
Thank you. Next on our agenda, we have we have the adoption of the 2022 Youth Advisory Committee Work Plan. Who will be presenting that?
Again, we'll hand it. Okay, Mateo, go ahead. Thank you.
Thank you, Mateo.
Is it okay if somebody presents on the screen? I don't have it sharing right now.
There we go.
Thank you.
All right, Mateo, this is Mackenzie Brady. Just go ahead and let me know when you'd like me to progress.
Oh, could you go to the next slide, please? So good evening to all, and thank you for the opportunity for me to speak tonight. My name is Mateo Torres. I'm the chair for the Youth Advisory Committee for 2021-22. Right now, we have members consisting of Friedrich Plankensteiner, Isabel Shinoki, Manu Brissetti, myself, and Tanner Young. And as of right now, we have 2 vacant spots, with 1 being an alternate as well. Next slide, please. For our 2021 review, we organized a baby needs drive, hosted a virtual family trivia night, and also held a joint committee meeting with the Senior Advisory Committee. Next slide, please. And as of for our 2022 work plan goals, our first task, advisory body to the City Council, as an ongoing activity, serve as the recommending body for matters as defined in resolution number 16 through 38. Task number 2, programs and fees, review and make recommendations to the Parks and Recreation Commission for review by the City Council for Parks and Recreation operation, programming and fees for service as it relates to the youth programming, such as youth drop-in activities. Task number 3, youth and teen programming and events, to partner with the Millbrae Leos on the plastic bag park bench project to help continue adding benches to Millbrae parks. Second, hold a Q&A with a member of law enforcement to gain a better understanding of what law enforcement does to keep the youth in the community safe and improve the perception/relationship between both parties. And task number 4, a joint committee program, is to hold a trivia game with the Senior Advisory Committee to further a connection between 2 different generations within the community. So that is what we have planned for this year. Thank you.
Thank you, Mateo.
Council members, do you have any questions?
I don't see any questions, Mackenzie. Oh, we do. We have a Councilmember Fung.
Hi, it's not so much of a question, but thank you, Madam Mayor. Just wanted to say that I'm extremely proud of this group of young leaders here at Millbrae. Throughout last year, I was your liaison on the Youth Advisory Committee, and everybody stepped up. And despite it really, heavy workload on your schoolwork, everybody participated and come up with many programs that would get everybody engaged and be a part of this community. It's really delightful to see our young leaders stepping up and and also working with our seniors. And now we have a new work plan for the upcoming year to work with our law enforcement to get better understanding and how to keep our community safe. So I'm extremely proud of our group of young leaders here. So thank you very much.
Is that a motion to approve, Councilmember Fung?
Absolutely. I forgot to say that. Yes. Motion to approve the work plan for the next upcoming year.
Happen second.
Thank you. May we call for the vote, please?
Yes. Councilmember Schneider,
Aye.
Councilmember Oliver,
Aye.
Councilmember Fung,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Pappen,
Aye.
Mayor Oliva.
Aye.
The City Council approves the 2022 Youth Advisory Committee work plan by a vote 5-0.
Thank you. Thank you to the Youth Advisory and the Senior Advisory Committee for all their volunteer time to help our community remain strong. It's such an important part of our city, these communities. So I really appreciate the work and the groups, and I'm happy they're getting together. That's awesome. Good ideas. I'm going to move on to public comment, and that's reserved for persons wishing to comment on anything that's not appearing on the agenda. I believe at this time we do have a public comment that was received via email, and if the city clerk wouldn't mind to start that comment, and then I'll move to anybody else that's on Zoom.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Yes, we did receive a public communication via email from Holly Borgello. That was shared with the City Council and will be noted for the public record.
Thank you, Eduardo. And I see one hand raised, 650-692-2739. Can you identify yourself, please?
Yes, good evening, City Council. My name is Jeff Carter. I'm a resident of Bayside Manor. I appreciate the report from the city manager regarding the tragedy of December 23rd. I'm looking forward to investigation and see why all this flooding occurred. From the videos that were I seen presented, it looked like a river of water was flowing into the Hillcrest underpass, and maybe it's a massive failure of storm drains or something. I don't know, because all that water was coming maybe from El Camino or wherever. I just hope that there's a real investigation to find out exactly what happened here. A few years ago, one of my neighbors showed me behind his house, which faces the open field under the transmission towers. The storm drains in this neighborhood just drain out into that the open field. Maybe they run into the Lomita. Maybe that eventually runs into the Lomita Canal. I don't know, but the looks like all the storm drains in this neighborhood are just open to the field. And that particular day, it looked like it was turned into a lake back in the open field. So hopefully we can see what's going on with the storm drains and better management of storm drain by both the city and by the airport. Second item I'd like to talk about is kind of came up with the previous item is regarding the parks in Millbrae. I live near, of course, Bayside Manor, and there's Bayside Park here. But Bayside Park is, the field is not in very good condition. It's full of bare spots and holes, or whatever you want to say. And I'm just wondering, is it possible for to better maintain the parks here and get more people to use the parks? I'd love to see more people using the parks. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. And I'm sure that staff took notes, and we'll have some comments to get back to you at a later date. Thank you very much. Any other public comment? Seeing no hands raised, I'd like to move on to the consent calendar. We have Item 5, the adoption of a resolution finding that the proclaimed state of emergency continues on the impact and the ability to meet safely in person, and declaring that the city council and city commissions and committees will all continue to meet remotely in order to ensure health and safety of the public. Item number 6, approved by motion the quarterly investment schedule for the first quarter of the fiscal year 2021 to 22. Item number 7, the approval of the public display of fireworks for the Lunar New Year Festival on February 5th. Item number 8, adoption of a resolution approving the amendment of the deferred compensation of 457B plan to permit loans. And number 9, authorize by motion the city manager to authorize payments for up to $100,000 to champion tennis for after school and camp programming for the city of Millbrae's recreation program. And authorized by motion the city manager to extend addendums for an additional 3 years. Do we have a motion to approve the consent calendar?
Move approval of the
Anders.
consent.
It sounds like we have a motion and a second from Councilmember Fung and Vice Mayor Pappen. Can we call for a vote, please?
Councilmember Schneider,
Aye.
Councilmember Holliber, Councilmember Holliber,
Aye.
Councilmember Fung,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Pappen,
Aye.
Mayor Oliva.
Aye.
The city council approves a consent calendar by the vote of 5-0.
Thank you. We have no public hearing tonight and we have no existing business, so we'll move on to new business. Item number 10, discussion and appointment of the city selection committees, vacant positions on regional boards, commissions, and agencies. And we would like to have I know that, well, let's listen to public comment first on this item, please.
So Mayor, we can, our acting city clerk, Eduardo, is prepared to just provide the council with a briefing and how kind of everything laid out and what the appointments are as presented, and then we can open it up for discussion if that would be the pleasure of the council.
Sure.
Okay.
If everybody needs a, yeah, but what, okay.
Or no, it's yeah, I just, however you want to.
That sounds perfect.
Okay, Eduardo, if you could please brief the council on the assignments.
Yes, thank you very much, City Manager Williams. So again, this is the discussion and the appointments to the City Selection Committee vacant positions on regional boards, commissions, and agencies. Here is the first table that you see here is the City Council subcommittees. I'll go ahead and I'll list out the subcommittee and then the recommended appointments for that specific subcommittee. So for the Budget and Finance Subcommittee, we have Mayor Oliva and Vice Mayor Pappen. For the Commission Committee Interview Subcommittee, Councilmember Fung and Councilmember Holliber. Our Recreation Center Subcommittee, that appointment is recommended for Vice Mayor Pappen and Councilmember Holliber. For our Economic Development and Alliance with SFO Subcommittee, we have Mayor Oliva and Councilmember Fung. For the Fire Shared Services Subcommittee, we have Councilmember Schneider and Councilmember Holliber. For our Homelessness Subcommittee, we have Mayor Oliva and Councilmember Fung. For our Infrastructure, Climate Change, and Sea Level Rise Subcommittee, we have Councilmember Schneider, Councilmember Holliber. The MSASP Westside Development Subcommittee, we have Mayor Oliva and Vice Mayor Pappen. For our Technology Subcommittee, we have Councilmember Fung and Councilmember Holliber. And last, we have the Cultural Inclusion Subcommittee, and we have Vice Mayor Pappen and Councilmember Fung. So I'll move on to the second table here shows the City Council liaison to the city commissions and committees. First is for the Mayor Civic Coordinating Council. That is Mayor Oliva and Vice Mayor Pappen as the alternate. And excuse me, yes, the first name that you see here, it would be the liaison, and then the second name would be the alternate. So moving on, for the Millbrae Chamber of Commerce liaison, we have Mayor Oliva as a liaison and Vice Mayor Pappen as the alternate. For our Millbrae Community Enhancement Advisory Committee, that'd be Councilmember Fung with Vice Mayor Pappen as the alternate. For our MCTV, Millbrae Community Television, the liaison is Councilmember Fung with Vice Mayor Pappen as the alternate. For our Millbrae Cultural Arts Advisory Committee, Councilmember Schneider we have as liaison and Councilmember Holliber as the alternate. For Millbrae Economic Vitality Advisory Committee, Vice Mayor Pappen as liaison and Mayor Oliva as alternate. Millbrae Parks and Recreation Commission, Councilmember Holliber as liaison and Vice Mayor Pappen as the alternate. For the Millbrae Parks and Recreation Subcommittee, BPAC, that'd be Councilmember Holliber as liaison and Councilmember Schneider as the alternate. For our Millbrae Senior Advisory Committee, that liaison is Mayor Oliva and Councilmember Fung as the alternate. For our Millbrae Sister Cities Commission, liaison Councilmember Holliber and Councilmember Fung as the alternate. And for our Millbrae Youth Advisory Committee, Councilmember Fung as liaison and Vice Mayor Pappen as the alternate. The third table here will show the City Council appointments to regional commissions and bodies. Again,
I don't think we really need to go through these. They're public record, but.
Okay, so Mayor, I thought this would just be helpful and also show the community how busy the council is instead of just, meeting every other Tuesday night. So if you would like to go back to table 1, I know that we have had some requested changes. Mayor, you and I have talked about it, but to avoid the Brown Act, we had to limit the discussion until we came into open session this evening.
So why don't we ask, just with this table 1 with subcommittees, is there a council member that would request a change? Councilmember Schneider. Councilmember Schneider.
Love the mute button. Thank you, Mayor. Just so the public knows, because we can't really talk to each other about this. Last year, and I'm trying to find it.
Can we just ask, I'm just curious on table 1, is there a request for a change on this?
Well, my request would be, and I'm trying to find it, Mayor, sorry. If there's an opportunity, I haven't served on the committee interview subcommittee in 4 years. So given the way everybody's workload is stretched out, more of my changes are on the other ones. Fire subcommittee and infrastructure are great.
So
and Mayor, on the agenda packet, it said the communication and public administration, you want to merge that with budget and finance. I think that's fine. What I had hoped, and there was never staff time for Councilman Fung and I to meet, was to talk about the real software deficit we have in City Hall. We don't have a GIS mapping system.
Let's stick to the committee work with the committee.
Okay, well, I'm just trying to say I support you in merging it if you can make sure that we don't lose track of the software.
Okay,
and how big a problem the software is.
So Councilmember Schneider, on this first subcommittee page, is there any changes that you wanted to request?
I would like, if there's an opportunity, to serve on the commission and committee interview subcommittee. It's been 4 years for me.
Okay, so that subcommittee is Councilmember Fung and Councilmember Holliber. Would one of you like to give up your time on the commission and committee interviews subcommittee? You don't have to raise your hand.
Yes, I would be happy to give that one up.
Okay, so Councilmember Holliber is happy to give you that assignment, Councilmember Schneider.
Thank you, Councilman Holliber.
Perfect. Is there anybody I see Councilmember Fung. Are you okay with this first page?
Yeah, Madam Mayor. So I think I was working with Councilmember Schneider last year on the fire share services. And we've got many other items and agenda items that we need to follow up in this upcoming year as well. So I think it would be beneficial for me to continue to be on the fire share services subcommittee.
Councilmember Hullaber, are you willing to give that as well up?
Yes, I think there was some confusion last year as to who was appointed, and I think my name stayed on the sheet even though I didn't attend any of the meetings. I think Councilmember Fung was attending those meetings. So yeah, happy to give that one up as well.
Thank you, Councilmember Hullaber. And Councilmember Hullaber, are you okay with this subcommittee?
Yes.
And Vice Mayor Pepin, are you good with this?
Oops. Yeah, yes, I am good with that. Just for clarification, subcommittees are within the city, and to be clear, don't necessarily represent the city's position unless the city council votes on something. We've got some huge subject matters here. I just want to be clear that.
Okay, but as far as the assignment goes, these subcommittees, okay. Eduardo, City Clerk Eduardo, can we please go to the next slide? City Council commissions and committees. So these are liaisons and alternates. Everybody that has a position on the liaison, is there somebody that needs a liaison position that didn't get it? Councilmember Schneider.
This is the one, and this is entirely up to Councilman Hullaber for the Millbrae Park and Rec Subcommittee BPAC, because I'm on County BPAC. It is helpful that I can listen in to Millbrae BPAC so that I can, try to get us grant dollars as much as possible. But if Councilman Hullaber wants to be the BPAC main and I'm the alternate, I can live with that. But it just makes it complicated to do my regional work.
Councilman Hullaber, would you like to give up 3 positions tonight?
I think this was another one where I think there was some discussion at the last meeting, and I think Councilmember Schneider has been attending and acting as the liaison for this one, and I would be happy to make that change. I know there have been some discussions about that potentially becoming an independent committee, separate from Parks and Rec, but that's not part of the discussion this evening.
Okay, great. So can we go from liaison to alternate? Will you go from liaison to alternate there?
Sure.
Perfect. Is there a position here that you might want because we took so many away from you?
Not necessarily. I think.
Not that you don't have your hands full.
Yeah, I think I have plenty of assignments here, and some of my top priorities that I've been working on for many years. So
thank you for being so obliging. Vice Mayor Pepin.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Could we please spell out BPAC for the public? Because I don't think most people understand what that means. And secondarily, on Millbrae Chamber of Commerce, I would definitely like to, as far as I think the mayor and I are aware, there was no meetings last year as far as the Chamber of Commerce. And I think the city needs to take a very close evaluation of our partnership with a chamber who doesn't meet or invite the liaison to their meetings, please.
Okay, but as far as this slide goes, is everybody okay? I see 3 hands up. Are they up for no? Councilmember Fung, or do you need your hand up?
Yes, please, Madam Mayor, when you're done. Is everybody else?
All yours. It's all yours.
Okay, thank you. So I think it's very generous that I got additional assignments on the commissions and committees. On the Millbrae Community Enhancement Advisory Committee, I think Councilmember Schneider has been working with this committee for a very long time, and I think some continuity would certainly benefit in the important work and the continuation of the work that they've been doing. So would Councilmember Schneider be willing to step into this position and continue your work?
Thank you, Councilman Fung. Very much so. Given my statement when I stepped down as mayor, what I really hope to work on is environmental work within the city of Millbrae this year. So Councilman Fung, that is very generous of you. Thank you.
Beautiful.
My pleasure.
All right. Thank you, Councilmember Fung. Everybody's good with this slide, and we have one other slide, which is appointments. So we don't really need to go through that because we don't get to change that.
Actually, Mayor, I'm sorry. I had talked to Tom about this before I went on vacation, and then I came back from vacation and had to go in for some medical testing. But I know that I have several regional ones. And last year when I was trying to figure out what would be a good place for Councilman Fung, I had considered him for Peninsula Clean Energy. And I know he and I have actually talked about this. He has an interest. I am happy to step off as both the director or the alternate. Again, right now, Councilman Holliber is the alternate. But the only thing, and if Councilman Holliber wants to take alternate, that is great. But if Councilman Fung could be appointed as the director of Peninsula Clean Energy, I think he can bring a lot of good things to PCE. But I'd still like to, however we can do it within the Brown Act, be able to update him, because I've been the alternate for 5 years and then the board member this year, just to be able to give him the background on that. But whatever your call is that, I believe Councilman Fung would like to be the director on PCE, Peninsula Clean Energy.
Councilmember Fung, do you want to be the director of Peninsula Clean Energy?
Thank you very much.
Delegate, not directors.
Board member.
Member of the board of directors.
Yeah, board member.
One of many directors.
It's okay. So yeah, I thank you very much, Councilmember Schneider. I've expressed that I have personal interest in contributing a little bit more on the clean energy side of things. So that's very generous of you, and I would love to volunteer for the board member position.
Perfect. So the only thing that we have to be very cautious with here, like you said, Councilmember Schneider, is the Brown Act. So let's
sorry, Madam Mayor.
everything.
It sounded like Councilmember Schneider would like to be the alternate for that, and I would be happy to step aside.
That would avoid a lot of Brown Acts. Yeah.
Thank you, Councilman Holber. You're my hero of the night. And I think this is great. This gives Councilman Fung, now that he's finished his first year, a chance to be on more regional bodies.
Well, team, we did it. Do we have a motion? Oh, excuse me. We had somebody with their hand up. I'm not sure if.
I have one more hand up, and it's only, if you look at 12 and 13, the Bay Area Water Supply, Dan Quigg, former Mayor Quigg, has been doing this, and it's great that he can continue. But I think for long-term health of the city council, is it okay for other council members to listen in so we begin to learn what is very complicated? Former Mayor Quigg and I had a talk over December about this, and I believe I mentioned to him, if there could just be someone who can backstop him so that we can have that institutional knowledge as part of council, should former Mayor Quigg move off this committee.
So I don't.
I believe they're public.
You can't. It's a public meeting, so you're fine to listen.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay. That's why my hand was up. Thank you.
Okay. City Manager Tom Williams.
Yes, Mayor, thank you. Just a staff recommendation for consideration. If we move to the subcommittees of the City Council, Table 1, under line item 5, that's the Fire Shared Service Subcommittee. If the council would consider, I think it's also important that we have quarterly meetings with the Sheriff's Office. And so I would recommend that we amend this and add to this subcommittee, Fire and Sheriff Office Shared Service Subcommittee, or something. It could be Public Safety. But I think it's important that we have good dialogue with the Sheriff's Office, but certainly a subcommittee in terms of staff recommendation, I think would be well suited. So I'm just suggesting that if the council would consider that. If not, we can table it and bring back more information to the council as to the reasoning behind it.
I actually would like to table that because I have a little concern with being on the SAL board and a little bit of, I don't know how that runs together.
Okay, we can certainly bring this back for more in-depth discussions.
I like the idea, but let's make it right. Councilmember Helper?
One other comment, I see you have the other Ccag Legislative Committee and Bicycle Pedestrian Advisory Committee listed here. Also, Vice Mayor Pappen and myself are on the Ccag Congestion Management and Environmental Quality Committees. I don't know if we need to list that as well.
So it's not on there, I don't think. And it's,
Appointed
Just-
by Ccag.
yeah,
So we're missing a line
Yeah, I mean, it's not important, but just for
just for
record keeping, I guess.
for publication. Yes, we'll add that, Ruben.
Thank you. Sorry about that.
and if we can be clear, so my appointment to that committee is through MTC, and Councilmember Holliber's is through Ccag, I think, or our city designee. I forget how.
No, through Ccag.
Through Ccag.
Thank you.
And Madam Mayor, if we're to discuss an additional subcommittee, I do believe fire and sheriff should be a separate committee, but we'll address that in the future.
Yeah, let's table that for now. So for what's on the what's presented to us tonight, I keep losing the public hand.
It was Jean Joe. I think hopefully she didn't drop off.
I think it was Jean
Jean
Wong.
Jean Wong.
Jean Wong, sorry.
Jean, would you, excuse me, is council finished? Can we go to public comment? Yes. Okay, Jean, would you like to speak?
Yes, thank you. I'd like to thank Councilmember Fung for recommending that Councilmember Schneider continue with the Community Enhancement Advisory Committee. By doing so, this will allow the committee to continue to tap into her extensive knowledge of environmental issues and to look to her for guidance as to how we can best complete our 2022 projects. As one of the newest members of the committee, I've been greatly inspired by Councilmember Schneider's enthusiasm and commitment to improving and sustaining Millbrae's environments, and she encourages committee members' active participation and really challenges us to solve problems and not just to complain about them. So thank you, Councilmember Fung. I think that's just great. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comments? So this is an action item. Who's going to take action?
Motion to approve the list as has been modified.
Second.
Can we call for a vote, please?
Councilmember Schneider,
A very grateful yes.
Councilmember Holliver,
Aye.
Councilmember Fung,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Pappen,
Hi.
Mayor Oliva.
Hi.
The City Council approves the appointments with the noted amendments to the City Selection Committee vacant position on regional boards, commissions, and agencies by a vote of 5-0.
Beautiful work, guys. Okay, new business number 11, accept by motion the annual comprehensive financial report. And I'm sure we have a report.
We do, Mayor. Thank you. Previously, this is known as the CAFR, the Comprehensive Annual Financial Report, but the name's been changed to the Annual Comprehensive Financial Report, just as an FYI. I would like to introduce Mr. Mike Sung, the city's finance director, for a presentation.
Thank you, City Manager Williams. Let me go ahead and get the screen share working. Can everybody see the screen?
Yes.
Yeah, we can, Mike.
Right. Thank you. Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, and City Council. Mike Sung, Finance and Administrative Services Director. Today, we'll be talking about the annual annual comprehensive financial report, as City Manager Williams had mentioned. The name has changed. GASB has asked us to go ahead and change it, and it used to be known as the Comprehensive Annual Financial Report. So let me go ahead and move us to the next page. So what is an annual comprehensive financial report? Well, governments need to comply with accounting standards, and these accounting standards are actually set by GASB, the Governmental Accounting Standards Board. What an annual comprehensive financial report really is a look back. Much like a budget is a look forward, where you're planning and forecasting for the next fiscal year. The Aquifer, the annual comprehensive financial report, really looks back and shows the actuals of what happened. And we're actually talking about fiscal year 2020, 2021 here. So what it does is it reports out an entity, in this case, Millbrae, financial statements, government-wide fund financial statements, notes, financial trends, and statistics about what's actually happened. And this financial report's independently audited, and it's reviewed by somebody outside of the city, and they do report out on any findings if there are any. So some highlights on the Aquifer. Our net positions increased by $11 million. That's mostly due to capital assets. That kind of ties into the next bullet point that I'm talking about here, which is the total current assets actually decreased by 8.6 million. Now, what actually really happened is most of it's in cash and investments. About $8 million had decreased. We'd chosen to use that to fund the Milibra Recreation Center for the construction of that. So we had used some of our restricted funds for that. Decreasing the current assets actually increases the capital assets, because that's what we're actually really converting that towards. And we've used a variety of funding through special grants, special funds, and proceeds for the MRC. One thing I'd like to note is that this is the first full year of COVID. From July 1 of 2020 to June 30th of 2021, what we've actually seen is a pretty big reduction in a couple of items. One is transient occupancy tax, also commonly known as TOT, as well as a moderate reduction in sales tax as well. We also had a reduction in one-time developer contributions. We just didn't have as much of a developer contribution in 2021 as in 1920, but that kind of fluctuates from year to year. The other thing I should note is that our net pension liability, which is one of those things that we don't really have too much control over, actually increased by 2.2 million. And that's actually steadily increased every year. What's actually really happened is that over the last decade, CalPERS, who we contract with for our employee retirements, lowered the discount rate from 8%. They went down to 7.5%, 7 3/8, 7 1/4, 7 1/8, 7, and now most recently the CalPERS boards reduced the discount rate to 6.8%. The lower the discount rate, the more we owe, because you are assuming a lower assumption of earnings. On the plus side, we've actually decreased our OPEB liability. OPEBs are other post-employment benefits, also known as retiree medical care. And that's because the city set up a while back a Section 115 trust so that we can basically earn higher investment returns compared to our current investment policy. And our current investment policy is very conservative. It's really set by the state. And this all stems from the what events had actually occurred back in the 1990s with Orange County and the speculation that they had back then. So in summary, I'd like to point out that this year, also there's an unmodified opinion with no findings. In the case of audits, no news is good news. Once again, our net position increased by 11 million. Most of that's capital assets. Some revenues were severely affected. Most importantly is TOT. Just as a comparison, just to show you, at our height, we were at about 8.9 million for TOT. That was back in fiscal year 18-19. In 2021, the actuals were about 2.3. So we had about a 3/4 or 75% reduction there. Now it's steadily begun to recover, and it's very closely aligned with how the airport activity actually is. So that is a bit of good news moving forward. Another piece that's actually really good news is the federal government's stepped in. They've helped us out a bit with both the CARES Act and the ARP Act money. So we got about $280,000 one time for the CARES Act. And we received this past fiscal year, $2.7 million from the ARP Act, and we're expecting to see another $2.7 million for this current fiscal year of 21-22 from the ARP Act to help with revenue recovery as well. These are all one-time federal grants, basically. The city was able to continue to function in a very good manner. This is mainly due to us being very fiscally prudent, reducing expenditures and transfers outs via a great combination of savings measures. We continue to do our hiring freeze. We've done spending reductions. We've reorganized. We've used all of our restricted funds for qualifying projects. You want to use your restricted funds before you use your general fund because of flexibility. And then we've also deferred non-critical capital projects. All of our critical projects remain online, but the non-critical ones we've deferred just for the time being. So that kind of is a summary of what actually happened in 2021 very briefly. I'm available for questions.
Mayor?
Yes, do we have any questions? I'm sorry, I was on mute too. Councilmember Schneider?
I'm happy to wait till after public comment.
No, let's go with council first, please.
Okay, all right. Thank you, Director Sung. I think this was marvelous. It was great to hear that the audit went well. Congratulations. In December, I attended Assemblyman Mullen's meeting with local legislators. And one of the things that the report talks about is how much revenue we have lost, even while the state of California talks about what a big surplus they have. And it's been in the newspaper. The governor has just released his budget with a lot of that money going to cities that have communities of concern. So I would like to make a motion to support this. I hate to do that before we have the public speak, but I'm happy to do so. But I'm wondering if the city of Millbrae and the mayor can send a letter to our assembly member and senator saying, we are hurting. You know, it's great that the state has money, but we are not bringing in the same revenue that we did before COVID, even with ARP and the CARES Act. So that would just be my one thing. I was kind of amazed in conversations with Assemblyman Mullen, because he comes from local government. He's a former mayor of South San Francisco, how much he's forgotten about local revenue streams. So I think we need to encourage our higher office holders to get some money back to us. In addition, I was at a California mayor's meeting in December where most small cities in the state, we all have got less per capita than the medium and large size cities. So we are basically constantly going deeper in debt because we don't get the same thing that the medium and large cities have. So I think we need to become more proactive, but I support the report entirely. Thank you.
Councilmember Schneider, I could support your ask for a letter, but I would love it to be more specific. Not that we need, let's think of an ask. And then,
excellent. Thank you, Mayor.
Councilmember Holliber.
Thank you. Thanks for the report. Glad to see that there were no significant findings here. There was one thing I noticed that it mentioned that property tax had a decrease of about 1.2 million. Can you explain that a little bit more?
So with property tax, what had actually ended up happening is sometimes we receive back payments from the state, and that was kind of a combination of excess ERAF, the Educational Revenue Augmented Fund, and we got some of that back pay in the previous fiscal year. We didn't get that in this current fiscal year, so there was a little bit of a deviation off of that. In fact, there's other pieces of property tax that we're waiting on, including VLF, which normally the state doesn't pay the full amount. And then we're basically left waiting to have them make us whole. And we're kind of waiting for that to happen. I believe the state's actually looking at adding in the additional VLF payments for in their budget in fiscal year 22-23 to pay us back for 2021. So there is a little bit of a delay when that actually occurs and when that actually happens. So that's where some of the fluctuation is.
Okay, so you're saying it's more of kind of a timing of the report and the payment as opposed to a real reduction in revenue?
Yes, for that case, yes.
That's it for today. Thank you. Thanks very much.
Vice Mayor Peppin.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and thank you to staff for all your efforts here. You know, I would really like us to try to develop a plan to take on our debt, which just keeps growing. If we can make efforts toward that, hopefully we can get ahead at some point in time. Other agencies or boards I serve on are really trying to do similarly, is to address our unfunded obligations and funded obligations here. So I don't know if we'll have an opportunity, but I would like to see us really developing some sort of a plan to reduce long-term debt.
Mike, did you want to address that? Because I think that was in the report, Vice Mayor, that actually we have been pretty aggressive in the past.
We have, and in terms of long-term debt, one of the main pieces is if we're looking at it from various standpoints, like for example, what we've done recently to address some of the long-term debt in the sewer fund is we actually refunded, and that saved all of the ratepayers about $4.5 million over the next 18-19 years. So there's opportunities like that that we're actually looking for. In terms of other items like OPEB, we had opened up a Section 115 trust so that we can get better returns. And that's actually been very helpful. A lot of other cities out there are doing what's known as pay-go, pay as you go. And that's basically something that would end up having the city pay a lot more in the outer years. If you actually save up quite a little bit now and then you invest properly, you have a much better chance of being able to meet your obligations for the future. So we are taking some steps at looking at that, and we're always constantly looking for additional opportunities to address that as well.
Vice Mayor, I think what you're asking for is to not just like do it the one time we did it, and maybe like make for another plan in the near future.
Yeah, I mean, Mike's on the right track here. I would like to see additional efforts made in that regard. I'd also like to know where our reserves are.
Our current reserves are set at 15% for the general fund. So that's approximately $4.9 million.
Okay, and do we have a cap on reserves, or do we know what Mike, what's typical to maintaining our reserves and putting them to use? What is the standard policy along those lines? If you know, I'm sure you know.
So for our reserves, currently our policy is 15%. We could look at increasing the reserves as well. We could align them with some industry standards like the GFOA standard, which is 16.7% or approximately 2 months worth of operating expenditures or revenues. We're also, we can also take a look at some other cities have actually much higher reserve, mainly because they wanted to be a little bit more conservative in their estimates. And that's something that we could do. We do have a fund balance to kind of look at, but mainly we've done that just to be very cautious as to what's actually happened within the last couple of years due to the COVID-19 pandemic. So as we get more information, we can develop a plan to kind of review and move forward from there.
Okay, so I would like to, since I was the one who signed the reserve policy, yeah, I'm not looking to really increase them at this point. But when we reach that level of, say, the 2 month, I think we should then address how we move forward in order to be most productive and maybe reducing our debt further or where to go from there. I would be interested in that. So thank you very much.
So Councilmember Holliver, is your hand up again? Or is it just not down? There you go. City Manager, Tom?
Yes. Thank you, Mayor, Council. This news is breaking news. So I would like to report, I didn't even have an opportunity to let Mike know that we did receive from the governor, the VLF backfill is being funded in the governor's budget. So that's $96.2 million that comes to the county. And so we will get our fair share of that distribution of additional revenue on the VLF. That's a vehicle license in lieu fee, which the city managers crafted a letter. All the mayors signed the letter that we put forth to the legislation. And so our voices were heard, and the governor's budget now includes that backfill. So that's good news. A little bit of good news for us tonight. Just hot off the press, by the way.
How does it come from the county to us?
There's a formula. I'll let Mike explain what the formula is.
So there's an actual formula as to what percentage there is. Usually what ends up happening is there's a shortfall, and then they take a percentage of the shortfall, and then each allocation for each individual city gets the pretty much the exact same percentage. They take out the same percentage per city. So let's say we had $2 million that was due to us for the VLF, and the state only gave 65%. What will end up happening is we'll get 65% of the 2 million or 1.3 million, and the other 700,000 they'll hold on to until the state actually funds that. So it's very equally distributed among the actual county.
And Mayor, we'll get an email out to the city council tomorrow to let you know what that actual amount is.
That's awesome. Congratulations. Yeah. Councilmember Schneider, is your hand up again?
Yes, just clarification. The VLF formula, is that based on number of miles of road or per capita?
The VLF is the state has an actual very interesting way of supplementing property tax. What they basically did with property tax is the state does I guess a mechanism where they borrow money and then they pay money back. And the actual real formula is they borrow a commensurate amount and then they're supposed to return back an equal amount. So this is kind of similar to what we used to have. If all of you remember the old triple flip that they used to have before, and then they basically pay that amount back. Now, VLF in itself, it's kind of a more complicated formula to determine. I think it'll be a lot easier if it's described in kind of an email back to the council later on.
If it is what I think it is, Millbrae actually gets less than, say, Hillsborough, because Hillsborough actually has more miles of roads than we do. And yet our roads are traveled by more out-of-towners, which add to wear and tear. So just leaving this to Ccag representative, Vice Mayor Pappen, this is something that some of us have talked about, especially those cities that are cut through cities. This is another thing that should go both to Ccag and the state, that it's an unequal distribution based on the usage of the roads. So just something to put out there and keep in mind, because our roads are damaged by everybody driving through us to get to SFO and the train stations. And it's no wonder that we've got the second worst roads in San Mateo County if we don't have enough money to help pay for the deterioration of the roads. Thank you.
Okay, but for a moment, let's celebrate that we're going to get some money. City manager, is your hand up again, or can I go to public comment? Okay, so I know we have a motion, Councilmember Schneider, but before we take a second, let's go to public comment. I see Wayne Lee, former mayor Wayne Lee.
Thank you, Mayor Oliva. Yeah, I just want to congratulate staff for taking proactive stance in this pandemic. We could have been much more financially in trouble. So I just want to thank staff for all the hard work they've done to keep, right now, we're lucky to even have a reserve fund as a city. And all of the reports and comments from Vice Mayor Pappen and Councilmember Snyder reflects the facts that the city most of its revenue is reliant on transit occupancy tax, which is from the hotels and motels, and also majority of its property taxes. So we do need to find ways to diversify our revenue stream. And we haven't really focused on that, although we've been talking about it. There is no plan. And I highly recommend that we start something of that effect and really go after it. There is a plan to try to get a business improvement district, and that could be part of it. So right now we're looking at people being priced out of their homes because of the fact that we heavily rely on property taxes. And that's pretty much how we make up a lot of our lost revenues and revenue streams. So we really need to diversify. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, former Mayor and Lee. I see Vice Mayor Pappen's hand up. Is that for a second on this motion?
Well, yeah, that too. But quick comment. I really want to thank the city staff and city manager for leading the way on people who are breaking into our streets. In other words, PG&E, all these other companies, and really holding them responsible for repairing the whole street instead of patchworks throughout. So I think that's getting us a little bit further than we were. That's an effort. And I'd really love to see city staff try to get a little assistance from Tesla and Burlingame, who evidently uses Millbrae Avenue as one of their test roads on a regular basis. So I don't know how you go about that, but I think they should be helping us out, at least on that road. Thank you. Second the motion.
Perfect. We have a motion and we have a second. Can we please call for the vote?
Councilmember Schneider,
Aye.
Councilmember Holliver,
Aye.
Councilmember Fung,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Pappen,
Aye.
Mayor Oliva.
Aye.
The City Council accepts by motion the 2020 to 2021 Annual Comprehensive Financial Report for the City of Middlebury covering the fiscal year ending on June 30th, 2021 by a vote of 5-0.
Thank you very much. Great work, guys. City staff, great work. Okay, we're going to move on to item number 12, approve the 2021 amended and restated water supply agreement between the City of and County of San Francisco wholesale customers in the Alameda County, San Mateo County, and Santa Clara County, and authorize city manager to execute such agreement when final execution copies are prepared and distributed by BOSQA. And I'm sure we have a report on this, please.
We do, Mayor. Thank you. I'd like to introduce Nicole Sankula from BOSQA that's here to provide the presentation this evening. She will actually provide the presentation on item number 12 and item number 13. So welcome, Nicole, and thank you very much for the great work that you do and help the City of Millbrae. Very much appreciated.
Thank you very much, City Manager and Madam Mayor, members of the council. I'm pleased to be here tonight. If someone could bring up my slides, we could get started.
Give me 1 second. I'll go ahead and I'll bring those up.
Okay, thank you. I'm pleased to be here tonight. I'll just introduce myself a little bit more as we start. As I mentioned, and as City Manager William mentioned, my name is Nicole Sankula. I am the Chief Executive Officer for BOSQA. Just to introduce myself to you, Bosca is actually a special district that was formed in 2003 to represent the interests of the 26 water suppliers, the wholesale customers to San Francisco that are in San Mateo, Santa Clara, and Alameda counties, including the city of Millbrae, and you'll see the red dot there on the map. Collectively, these 26 suppliers serve 1.8 million residents, over 40,000 businesses, and countless of community organizations. And the key that binds them all is that they all rely upon the San Francisco Hetchy Regional Water System. So there are two actions, as City Manager Williams mentioned tonight. The first one is an amendment to the water supply agreement that will allow for the paired transfer of an individual supply guarantee and a minimum annual purchase quantity. So I'm going to walk you through that first one first, because there's a lot of terms there. Next slide, please. So the water supply agreement amendment will allow for the paired transfer of two things, two contract terms, individual supply guarantee and minimum purchase. The relationship and rights between you as a wholesale customer, your other wholesale customers with San Francisco is contained in this water supply agreement. Collectively, the wholesale customers actually have a perpetual supply assurance of 184 million gallons of water per day from the regional water system. And while that's codified in your contract, it's actually separate from the contract and the subject of a legal lawsuit resolution. That individual supply, that supply assurance is then allocated among the 26 customers into individual supply guarantees. So for example, Milibra has a share of that, or a little slice of that, that is your perpetual right to a certain portion of water from the San Francisco system. In the water supply agreement, there are actually 4 agencies that have what's called an annual minimum purchase requirement from the regional water system. These are Alameda County Water District and the cities of Mountain View, Milpitas, and Sunnyvale. And this minimum purchase requirement ensures the financial stability to everyone, because essentially you all share in the annual cost to operate the regional water supply system every year. So any change to the minimum purchase requires an amendment to the water supply agreement. I didn't come before you the last time we had an amendment, but that was back in 2018 and 2019. But you did act on an amendment. And at that time, you and all your other wholesale customers councils formally directed Bosca to develop a contract amendment related to the minimum purchases and water transfers, and directed us to that any proposed amendment protect the financial and water supply interests of the non-participating agencies. So this proposed contract amendment is in response to these directives, allowing for the paired transfer of a portion of an agency's supply guarantee and a portion of their minimum purchase obligation. Some background just on the contract. Your first contract with San Francisco as a group was actually in 1984, and it was a settlement agreement and water sales contract. And that enabled certain agencies that have the ability to buy from an outside source to have these minimum purchase obligations. That's really why Milpitas, Mountain View, Sunnyvale, and Alameda County Water District have these minimum purchase obligations. And those were set at a percentage of their actual purchase levels at the time. Since that time, they've developed a little bit. We reduced them in 2009 by agreement with all the wholesale customers, and that was really important. In your contract with San Francisco, as I mentioned, the wholesale customers pay their share of expenses on the basis of proportional annual use, unless otherwise stated. And the minimum purchases are one of those otherwise stated. It's an example of a cost that is not based on proportional use. Again, protecting both San Francisco and all the single source agencies from volatile swings in use by those agencies. Next slide. Some key parameters of this proposed amendment that we negotiated over the course of a couple of years with the collective wholesale customers. And the Some of the key parameters are that it allows for the paired transfer of a minimum purchase and individual supply guarantee. Minimum purchases can be transferred to wholesale customers that have a fixed individual supply guarantee. These transfers have a limited amount, so they are limited to a total of 6 million gallons a day and 50% of the original minimum purchase for each agency that has one. A reduction in the transferor's permanent minimum purchase is effective on a fiscal year basis, again, because that's a financial obligation to that agency. And in exchange, the transferee is subject to a temporary modified minimum purchase quantity that's based on their most recent 5 non-drought year purchases from the regional water system. And this ensures the protection of your financial and water supply interests and everyone else that's not a participant in these types of transfers. The transferee will then secure a new permanent minimum purchase after purchasing their temporary modified minimum purchase for 3 consecutive years. So essentially, after they have grown into that amount that they've purchased. Next slide. So these predefined processes that we negotiated amongst all of you and the procedural safeguards together protect the water supply and the financial interests of all member agencies. So your water supply interests and obligations are protected by the following. The supply assurance, which is really critically important, remains unchanged at 184 MGD. Minimum purchase transfers must be permanent. The limitation on how much can be transferred, and the existing legal and contractual obligations to maximize the use of local supplies and implement water conservation remains unchanged. The financial interests and obligations are also protected. Your total minimum purchase quantity remains unchanged. There's no change in the total amount of minimum purchases. The transferee must pay for its current water use plus what's transferred, so its temporary modified minimum purchase quantity. And the transferee is subject to that temporary modified minimum purchase quantity until they grow into it for 3 consecutive years. At that time, then the transferee will secure a new permanent minimum purchase equal to the amount that they transferred. Next slide. You might ask, why are we going through this process? Nicole, you've been talking, it took several years to negotiate this. What's the benefit? And really the biggest one is that it removes an existing barrier to water transfers among the BOSCA agencies. What we know is that water transfers among the wholesale customers, among the BOSCA agencies, really offer potential for cost-effective water supply to meet the needs for new development within the service area. It also promotes the efficient use of water, which is consistent with state law. State and environmental agencies support this concept. And I think very importantly, San Francisco has also indicated that removing this barrier, because right now this is a barrier to transfers, removing it will make it easier for them to potentially develop new supplies as necessary to meet the things like increased environmental flows or other impacts from drought or climate change. It removes an existing barrier for a minimum purchase agency to reduce its minimum purchase obligation with this transfer. And that's definitely one of the things that those 4 agencies are interested in. It also protects the existing rights and obligations for all, including all non-participating agencies. And then lastly, just a side benefit, when you increase the purchases from the regional water system by the wholesale customers as a group, you actually reduce the unit cost for everyone. So that's an extra added benefit. Next slide. So that concludes my presentation on this item. The staff recommended action before you is for the council to approve the 2021 amended and restated water supply agreement between City and County of San Francisco and wholesale customers, and to authorize the city manager to execute the agreement when final copies are prepared and distributed by BOSCA. With that, I'll stop.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I'm sure we have some questions. So is Councilmember Schneider, is your hand just,
It is up.
Okay. Do you want to go?
Thank you, Mayor. And thank you, Ms. Senkula. When I read through this, I just have one question, and it might be more for the city manager. My understanding is that City of Millbrae is not currently subjected to the put or pay contract clause, or are we?
That is correct.
That is correct. Okay. For the public, put or pay means if we don't use that water, we still have to pay for it. It happens in the solid waste field all the time. It can be very, very costly to a city. So I'm very happy with that. And I support Mountain View since I have it, for full disclosure, I have a house in Mountain View. I follow Mountain View pretty closely. But that makes me feel much more comfortable that we are taking care of this. As long as Millbrae is protected, I'm all for it. Thank you. And good presentation on something very complicated.
Very complicated. Vice Mayor Pappen.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and thank you, Nicole. So, the big question in Millbrae all the time is, how do we reduce our water rates? It seems like San Francisco consistently increases the price to all of us. Is there anything on the horizon in entering into items 12 and 13 that would be of assistance to our residents?
Well, there was, as I mentioned, that added extra bonus, right? I do expect that once this whole process goes through, it may result in some transfers among, from those 4 agencies to other wholesale customers. For example, the city of Brisbane is trying to develop with the Baylands development, and they're actively looking for a water supply. To the extent, unfortunately, the cost of water goes 2 directions, right? Usually when we're in a drought, we're using less. To operate the system, the cost of the system remains the same, so the price goes up per unit. But as we look and start using more water, potentially, and through this action, we could, if there's a transfer that happens, the unit cost of water will go down. Again, because the fixed costs remain relatively the same, despite how much water is delivered.
Okay, so we hope to get there, and we're hoping Brisbane is able to, they've approved thousands of housing units, and right now the only thing standing in the way, I understand, is that they cannot get the water supply to support the approved housing units. So very, very difficult situation. I guess we're heading in the right direction, Nicole. Hopefully we can get there, because we keep trying to help our residents here. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Move approval, both items if we can, 12 and 13.
Councilmember Schneider, is that a second?
Happy to second, but I forgot to bring up my other question if I could.
Sure.
If Millbrae, and hopefully we will be successful in turning our sewage water into tertiary water, and I know we have been looking for customers for that, that might free up other space for that. Again, these contracts will not hurt us if we come up with 1.5 million gallons per day. City manager, is what we can generate from the sewage treatment plant if we go tertiary.
Well, the preliminary engineering estimates is north of 2 million gallons a day, 2 MGD. So
okay,
yeah, it's significant.
Yeah, so it could cause shifting just as more of our cities start looking at that very valuable source of water, and we get our residents past the ick factor. So thank you. Yes, happy to support and second.
Second on item 12 and 13.
Mayor,
yes.
Point of process here, and I'll look to the city attorney just for the record. I think you have to take item 12 first and then 13 second.
Sorry,
and
you said
I don't know if you want to
that.
open 13, just to open up any public comment, close public comment, just to.
Yes, absolutely. You said that to begin with. I
check that
apologize.
box.
Yes, we definitely.
So you keep item 12
I'm
open,
having
Mayor?
problems with my buttons here. Sorry, members.
I think you can keep item 12 open. Open item 13.
Yeah, I think if we can open item 13 and let perhaps Nicole can just briefly explain what that is about, which is really implementing the authority, the tools that will be approved in the amendment under number 12. I mean, then you could take them together. But we'll need to take public comment or allow for public comment on both items before there's action.
Thank you. Nicole?
Yeah, so item 13 is a separate agreement between Mountain View and East Palo Alto that they want to take advantage of the rules that are in the amendment, slightly modified, to enable them to move some minimum purchase obligation from Mountain View to East Palo Alto, respecting that there was a transfer in 2017 already from Mountain View to East Palo Alto. So Mountain View agreed to transfer water to East Palo Alto in 2017. They wanted to share, they wanted to move minimum purchase obligation as well. There were no rules to do that. That's kind of what started this whole process for this amendment. Now that we've negotiated the rules, those two agencies have negotiated kind of a side deal that would enable some of that to move to East Palo Alto on a quarter MGD basis. It has no financial impact to you. Again, the same procedural protections that are in place with the amendment will be followed through this agreement. But since the transfer already occurred, it's not exactly the same. So it's in line with it, it's following the rules, it's following all the protections, just slightly different. So that's why it's a separate amendment, but it will be administered similarly by us.
Do we have any public comment on that? Any questions? So we have a motion from Vice Mayor Gina Pappin to approve items, what is it, 12 and 13?
12 and 13.
12 and 13, and we have a second from Council Member Schneider. City Manager Tom Williams has his hand up again.
Mayor, sorry, I just, let me bring it down.
You learned how
Okay,
to use the button.
can we?
Yeah,
call
I would reduce it from 3 minutes for the city manager.
Can we call for the vote, please?
Councilmember Schneider,
Aye.
Councilmember Holliber,
Aye.
Councilmember Fung,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Pappin,
Aye.
Mayor Oliva.
Aye.
The city council approves items number 12 and number 13 by a vote of 5-0.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Well
Thank
done.
you, Nicole. Great presentation. So that leaves us to council comments, and I'm not so sure we have a heck of a lot to comment because we have been on a little holiday break here. But if there's anybody that would like to say something on council? No hands up?
Oh,
Oh,
there it is.
there you go.
The buttons tonight. Thank you, Mayor. Today, we got back from vacation last week and rats had moved up to our upstairs kitchen porch. So 2 days ago, I put out my first rat trap. And today, this morning, waking me up, a squirrel got caught in it. And I was able to take the trap off the squirrel's neck. But I want to give a huge shout out to the Peninsula Humane Society Wildlife Rescue. They came. The little guy looked like maybe he had a broken foot, but he jumped from tree to tree to tree when the Humane Society was here today. What he did tell me was they are quite often having to put down skunks and other predator animals, but skunks mainly, who love to eat rats because people have poisoned rats to kill them. And I am hopeful that my squirrel that has been coming to us every day for months and has been our source of entertainment during lockdown is okay. I feel horribly guilty, but I just want to thank the wildlife rescue people, and we help pay for that. And they said, if anybody finds my little squirrel named Peanut Butter in the neighborhood, to please call wildlife rescue. They'll still take him in and give him a checkup. Thank you.
Thank you. Vice Mayor Pappin.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just a reminder about your Christmas trees. Take the ornaments and the stand off. And secondarily, I understand that the federal government today has required insurance companies to pay for COVID tests, I think 8 a month. I don't know how official that is, but I understand how important that is to get testing done so that we can try to get this under control. At this point in time, the N95 masks seem to be preferred, or doubling up on your regular masks. But it really takes an effort for everybody to please keep your masks on when you're out in public, and we got to get this under control. So thank you everybody for the team effort and trying to get rid of this once and for all. Appreciated. Thank you.
Yes, and Council Vice Mayor, we have a call, the county call on Thursday. So hopefully we'll have an update to our city at our next meeting. Okay, Councilmember Holliber.
Thank you. Yes, actually, to follow up on that last comment, I've been receiving complaints about lack of mask enforcement at 24-hour fitness. I know it's not fun to wear a mask when you're exercising. It's not very comfortable, but at least for the next few weeks, next month, while the mask mandate is in effect, while this surge is very strong, I think we need to make sure that that is being enforced. And if it's not, find the business, do what we have to do to make sure that they are complying and requiring their users to. I'm sure they might say, oh yeah, everybody has to wear a mask here, but apparently if you go in there, it's not the case. So I just wanted to raise awareness to that, to help with enforcement efforts. Thank you.
Yeah, hopefully we're near the end of this and we've been strong. So let's just stay strong, finish strong. Councilmember Fung.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. A bit of a happy note that I want to bring everybody. During the last Christmas, I had an opportunity to join the SAL board and play Santa and delivering a lot of toys. Thank you, Madam Mayor, to many families in the San Mateo County, especially those who needed it the most. Extremely gratifying experience just to see the smile from these families, these children who some of them may have seen the Santa only the first time in their lives. And also very thankful for all the volunteers who participated. A lot of youth volunteers had participated in that toy drive, and the sheriff's deputies who drove us around and throughout the entire sort of southern part of our county neighborhoods. Just seeing the smiley faces of all these children is just extremely gratifying, and how rewarding that experience has been. So many thanks to all the volunteers, all the sheriff's officers, deputies, and those who donated those toys and those books to our children, and SAL for the entire SAL board for their support. So thank you so very much. You made these children and these families a very wonderful Christmas. And so thank you so very much.
So I'll end with that happy note.
And thank you, Mayor. Yeah, and thank you, Mayor, for that opportunity as well.
I just have to tell everybody how that happened. I was on holiday and got a call from one of our SAL board members and said, Santa's sick. Do you know somebody that can be Santa? And I was like, well, I have 3 brothers, but I'm sure they're all at a Friday night party, right? The week right before Christmas. So I asked the SAL board to call our city manager and to call Anders, because I'm like, well, maybe they'll do it. Maybe they could do it. Well, they couldn't compliment the city of Millbrae and the people and the leadership of Millbrae more than anything that you could imagine. They were so grateful. And Anders, you're absolutely right on that program. I would love our entire council to participate with that, because that program is so rewarding. It makes my Christmas every year. And I was so blessed to have Anders come through for us and participate and be Santa Claus. And COVID was tough, it wasn't the full fulfillment too. So next year when we get to go in those homes and when they get to embrace you in their home, it's going to be that much more rewarding. And I will invite the entire council if they're interested in experiencing it, because it's amazing. So thanks for bringing that up, Councilmember Fung.
Yeah, I just see the children jumping up and down in anticipation as you ring the doorbell, and then they just jump right up. And oh, by the way, my daughter just walks in and wanted to share a photo. I don't know if you can see it. It's okay. And I took 2 pillows just to fill up the middle section. So I think
And a note that everybody here in the council doesn't probably realize 100%, but we had bins all over our city. Thank you, City Manager Tom. He helped, and we collected up most of those toys. So we're very grateful for the community outreach as well.
So well done, everybody. Thank you so very much.
Thanks for bringing that up. On that happy note, we'll adjourn our first meeting of 2022. Thank you, everybody.
9:04, 5. Where you go, Mayor?
Good night.